Hello, my name is Audrea, and I'm going to be discussing my family dynamics versus the ones I saw in the film I watched. So, I watched the movie Uncorked on Netflix, and based on that versus the essay that I wrote, I feel that my family is more diverse than the family that was shown. In Chapter 12, Communication in Families regarding diversity in family life, our textbook says approximately one third of American families include a single parent who is raising a child and or children, and this was my experience. Technically, I was raised by my widowed grandfather, and I call him dad because he's like a father figure to me, but not by blood. And he raised me and my other siblings, so we're all his grandchildren. This is different than Elijah and his family that we see depicted in the movie. Elijah is raised in a two-parent household, mom and dad, been married for years, and that's just an experience that I did not have. So, I noticed that the family in Uncorked, they seem to be in the life cycle stage 5, whereas my family felt kind of stuck in the life cycle stage 4. So, Chapter 12, Communication in Families, discusses how stage 4 is where parents might express that they don't really like their children's hobbies, interests, activities, friends. Children may feel that their parents are being kind of strict and overbearing, and that was definitely my experience. I felt that during adolescence was a time where I started to discover dance as a hobby and as a passion, and I wanted to take my training really, really serious, and my dad didn't necessarily want the same for me, which left me really like hurt and confused, and it made me wonder if my dad wanted me to be fully dependent on him. Now, I wouldn't say the same for Elijah's parents in the film because Elijah has his own apartment. Elijah does work at the barbecue restaurant that's been passed down through his family for decades. However, he still has his own thing. He has a separate job, two jobs. So that's where I feel like Elijah is actually being launched, whereas we were kind of fighting for our independence. Now, as far as the character that I identify the most with, I'm going to say I identify most with Elijah. I feel like we both are trying to break free from different things in our families. Elijah wasn't sure that he wanted to really take on the family business in the film, and I have been discovering that I don't know if I still prescribe to certain religions or ideals that were passed down to me, and also wanting to dance is not seen as like a valid career in my family. So that's where I feel like we are the same, but as far as conflict and our conflict responses, we are very different. Chapter 9, which is managing conflict, talks about the different responses. Elijah has a loyalty response, whereas I used to have a voice response, and I lost it after I felt that when I was advocating for myself, my dad wasn't necessarily seeing that I was trying to compromise and have us both kind of feel respected and like have our needs and wants met. So now I have an exit response. And an exit response, our textbook says, usually has a person who would like to avoid conflict on all costs because they believe that nothing will come out of it. And that's definitely how I view conflict in just general, like it covers many aspects of my life. Lastly, I feel that my family and Elijah's family are the exact same in that they are unproductive when it comes to communication during conflict. So, Chapter 9, Managing Conflict, also discusses the different stages of conflict. And in the film and in my life, I see that the early stages get really, really messed up. Our textbook says that early stages can set the foundation and kind of like elevate, make or break an argument, essentially. And it also talks about how cross complaining can make a person kind of get on the defense and just feel unheard. And that's something that I saw Elijah and his father do. For example, when Elijah was trying to ask for time off and to get a like different shift, but he was still working, he was trying to get that compromise, but his dad was kind of like, well, we all want things. Like that was like the underlying tone of it. And I definitely feel like there's been times where I went to my dad and been like, hey, like I want so and so. And he was like, and I want this. And I was just kind of confused by the response. Thank you. And this class has been very engaging and fruitful.